Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, hello, whatever time it is with you and wherever you are. Thank you for downloading this SmackDown review as part of the WWE podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you listening along once again. I'm Amanda, your host of the SmackDown review. Before we get to the main event of the podcast, let's have a really quick look back at the matches that were at Saturday night's main event from Madison Square Garden, and let's see how we did on those predictions. So first of all, we had the tag match, Punk and Rhodes versus Gunther and Sami. We got the team of Punk and Rhodes defeating Gunther and Sami. The finish came when we had Nick Aldis. He came to the ring, which was not too much of a surprise. He pulled the referee out of the ring and smashed Gunther with the championship belt. This allowed Punk to hit the go to sleep and allowed Cody to get the pin. We then had Bayley versus Lyra Valkyria, and like the first match, I called this one wrong too. We had a win for Lyra, which was by submission in what was quite a brutal grudge match, and she then kept attacking Bayley after the bell. In this match, we got Lyra bust her nose open early in the match with legit blood pouring all over the floor. We got a Lyra win. With the quite sad news this week, I think, that allegedly Bayley is on her way out of WWE to AEW, and I would really hate that. I really like Bayley. I've always been a big fan. We then had our no DQ match, which was Danhausen versus JD McDonough. Not for me, this one, but I was right. Danhausen took the win with lots of chaos and weird stuff throughout the match. We had the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. This was Brie and Paige, the champions, versus Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed. And this was a good match, and I was right again with this one. We have new tag champs. Fatal Attraction took the win. The main takeaway from this Saturday night's main event, for me at least anyway, was Nick Aldis finally losing his shit and really costing Gunther. This was all confirmed as a match on the SummerSlam kickoff show and again on Raw. They're going to face each other at SummerSlam. Raw itself wasn't without its haters this week, seriously heavily reliant on recaps and previews from Real. No women's in-ring action, and I'm really hopeful that we get a better standard for SmackDown this week, as last week wasn't a great show either. So that being said, let's get to it and review the show that aired July 24th from Oakland. And Joe Test reminds us that SummerSlam is only 8 days away. And then, for us here in the UK, SummerSlam's over. Next thing you've got September, which will be the start of Strictly. And then before you know it, it's Christmas again. Anyway, so we've got our arrivals. And we've got Cody and Punk ready to build to their SummerSlam match later on. And we've got Paige and Brie. And Brie is going to face Lainey Reed tonight in a singles match. We start off our live action tonight with Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce in the ring. And we get a recap of the awesome moment where Nick finally decided to deck Gunther. Pearce says that he is here to make the match official between Nick and Gunther. He goes through the terms and conditions, but first of all, he brings out Gunther to massive heat. No suit for Gunther tonight. He's wearing jeans and a t-shirt, which is unusual for him and just looks kind of weird and wrong. Pearce tells Nick that protocol dictates he cannot fight in a match and be the GM of SmackDown. So as soon as he signs the contract, he's not going to be GM anymore and Pearce will take over. And he also tells him that WWE have got no responsibility for anything that happens to Nick. Nick tells him that he knows exactly what he's signing, and he tells Gunther that he never wanted any of this. He says that he was the one who forced the situation. He tells Gunther that he found his breaking point and he will accept the consequences of his actions, and he goes ahead and signs the contract. Gunther complains to them both that he's been dragged out to the ring for nothing. He says this will be a great moment for Nick's career, but not one for Gunther. He says that this is all beneath him. He says he should be preparing for a title match, but he isn't, and that's all Nick's fault for basically doing a crap job. Gunther says that ever since he joined SmackDown, he thinks Nick's had an issue with him, and he knows it's because he's jealous of him. He says, let's be honest, you never really made it, did you? You always wanted to be a WWE superstar, and it never happened. He says, and then you've got me, I walked in, got it all straight away, the titles, the records, the money. He tells Nick that he needs him to realise that he just isn't good enough. Gunther tells him he will fulfil his dream, and he tells him he'll make him a legend and have him join the list of Goldberg, Styles and Cena and end his career. Nick says to him, I've heard you say all that before, but if you actually believed it, you wouldn't be saying it. He says that he's also figured him out. He says you keep repeating yourself because you need me to believe the truth. But the truth is, you never thought it would come to this. You thought you'd throw your little temper tantrum, choke me out, pay the fine and move on, but it didn't work out like that. He says he saw it in his eyes, and he doesn't want any of his out of career in jeopardy. He says, I haven't had a match in 3 years. He's got nothing to lose. But when I beat you at SummerSlam, you go from career killer to the man who got made a bitch by his boss, which for me is line of the century. This ends up in a brawl. We get them going at it in the ring. Gunther low blows Nick and then puts him through the table. We then get all the producers out and the refs out down to the ring, and Gunther leaves. Well, back to a more standard start to the show this week, and I actually didn't mind this at all. So what do we know? Well, Nick relinquishes his GM role until after the match and the contract is signed. No stipulations that we know of just yet, so nothing officially if you lose you leave type thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if that came at some point. I like this, I have to tell you all. I hope we get a Nick win at SummerSlam, and maybe that results in Gunther switching brands. I'm not too sure they will give us a Nick win, but going on the crowd reaction, it will be very popular for sure. This was a really strong opening to the show, some different styles and voices too. So far so good, looking decent. We go straight backstage for an update from Kathy. She says Nick's in the trainer's room, and before we get anything else, we get a very dramatic interruption from Sami, who drags the camera away and says there's something he wants to get off his chest again. He says at Night of Champions he won the title. As soon as he did, he realised that the powers that be like Nick and Adam don't want him to be champion, because within days he had to defend his title to a last minute replacement for Cody on a show that he isn't even on. He says even when Golden Boy Cody got took out, CM Punk, the corporate poster child number 2, was waiting in the wings, fresh as a daisy. So congratulations, you took the title off me and you got your marquee match at SummerSlam. Everyone's happy, but what about him? He says 18 days ago he was champion and now he's on the bench. He tells Adam he needs to fix this situation. He said Nick deserves to be in the trainer's room as he cost Sami his title shot. Adam tells him, what do you want me to say? You got caught in the crosshairs, you had a bad day and it didn't go your way. Sami tells him to make it right. He tells Adam to make it a triple threat at SummerSlam. Adam says he can't do that, and he loses his shit at Sami. Pierce tells him, you're caught in the crosshairs and tonight there's a fatal 4-way. He says Sami can have the winner of that match at SummerSlam, with the winner becoming the number 1 contender. This isn't good enough for Sami, who continues to go on a rant about how everyone else just get the matches they want. Pierce tells him take it or leave it, which is great. I'm glad to see he's not getting involved and embedding in all of Sami's crap. Okay, so this was kind of an extension to the opening segment, and I think this is good. We continue to get Sami descending to pure rage and conspiracy theories. Now, we have seen conspiracy theory Sami before, and he does it very well. It's not my favourite Sami. I'm not sure which one is, to be honest, but at least it's something a little bit different. For me, I think they do need to be a little bit careful that they don't start to copy too closely the Drew storyline. This has the potential to get a bit there, so I think they just need to be cautious. Notably, you could hear the crowd in the background chanting no, no, no when Sami asked for a triple threat match at SummerSlam, so clearly not what they want. I'm not sure really any of us do we? So ultimately, Sami gets the winner in the number one contender match at SummerSlam, which I feel like he may lose and end up doing some shenanigans in the SummerSlam main event with Cody and Punk. I don't think we're quite done with Sami yet, and I am hopeful that this is a long and elaborate build-up for a returning KO. So on with the show, and the first in-ring action tonight that we have is Brie versus Lainey Reed. Paige and Brie... Paige is out with Brie, as are the rest of Fatal Influence for Lainey. No entrance on Netflix, at least for Paige or Brie. We just went back from an advert to them already in the ring. The new tag champs do get the full entrance, and with mics in hand, we get a promo. Lainey says it's funny how Saturday they become champs, but everyone is talking about Brie and Paige. She says they just got here in a wedding. They've taken out two legends, and for them, it must keep them up at night. JC says, if only I had gold, we'd be the perfect package, but thanks to you two idiots helping Tiffy, JC's not in the ladder match. She says it's fine, she's got the perfect solution. She basically says to Tiffy that she's going to get the US Championship. She tells Brie that Lainey will embarrass her tonight. This one kicks off, Lacey trying to get an early cheap shot in, but outfoxed by Brie. We get some pre-bell action, and then we get the bell and everything starts properly. As you'd expect, plenty of shenanigans from Fatal Attraction. Lainey goes up top, but Brie gets rid of her. Lainey tries to get a shonky cover by grabbing the ropes, but is spotted by the ref, and Brie takes full advantage of this and reverses the roll-up, taking the win. As she celebrates with Paige in the ring, they are both blindsided by a raging JCJ, who starts the post-match beatdown, and this brings out a returning Nikki Bella, which is a nice surprise. She comes out to even up the numbers and clears the ring, telling everyone she's back. She grabs the mic and says, you bitches think you can sneak up from the minor leagues and screw my sisters. She said it's time for a wake-up call, and it's Bella's and Paige versus the Fatal Attraction in a 6-woman tag at SummerSlam. Okay, this was good. So, a strong first match on the card tonight. Nikki Bella is back, surely meaning that the Bella's turn on Paige is also coming down the road soon, and I don't mind that. I'd like to see Paige cut loose as a singles competitor, and let's see what she can really do. A 6-woman tag at SummerSlam, I don't mind at all. That keeps Fatal Attraction with all the heat as they continue to challenge the legends. So yeah, all good for me. We go backstage now to Kathy, who's got Finn Balor. She asked him how he plans to ride his momentum into SummerSlam. He says he's always been thinking of 2016 when he had both the best and the worst night of his career. He says he's been scratching around for 10 years and tonight he's so close. He then gets interrupted by Gunther, who says great plans, but he's next in line and he doesn't care who he is. He doesn't care who he is taking it from, but he is taking what's his. So I get it. Gunther and Sami being fed into the title picture here and there, not completely directly, but definitely coming at it from the sides, which I think is good. And that's kind of reality. They would, right? They wouldn't just walk away happy. And so this part of the story is okay by me, as long as it doesn't end up in any way with Sami actually getting another title shot. I don't think anyone wants to see that. And like I said, hopefully Gunther should lose to Nick and maybe switch brands. We then get Solo backstage. He's with Knight and Keys, telling them that they are winning at the weekend, SummerSlam. Keys says that he's got a number one contender match tonight and he isn't worried about the bloodline. Knight tells him, none up. You always have to worry about the bloodline, and tells him to keep eyes in the back of his head. Solo becomes the hype man for his team and tells them that he has their back. This is a bit weird seeing such a major shift in Solo's character, but I don't mind it at all. It's something a bit different. However, I remain not convinced that come SummerSlam, Solo won't turn on his new buddies and rejoin the bloodline, which would well and truly suck, but we will have to wait and see. We then go to Tiffy. She's telling Chelsea that she's super excited for her match tonight and telling her she's going to do great. Tiffy says, remember how great they were when they were last in a ladder match together? And she's not wrong there. That was one for the ages. And I still think about that that spot that Chelsea took right off the top of the tallest ladder. So yeah. Chelsea says she wants to win the interim championship. Tiffy says so does she. Chelsea tells them that they're getting ahead of themselves. First she needs to qualify. She walks off to her match, and then we get Blake Monroe appear. And she tells her, Tiffy this is, that unlike the rest of the locker room, she likes her. She tells her to admire the title and polish it because everyone is after her. So I don't mind Blake getting inserted into all these random storylines. It's good. She's like everywhere, and you never know when she's going to pop up and take her shot, and you don't know who that's going to be on. So I'm quite enjoying what they're doing with Blake. Now she's actually here, and we've not just got a bunch of really weird promos week on week. I'm actually enjoying seeing her get to grips with things. Next out, we've got a qualifying match for the ladder match for the interim championship at SummerSlam, Chelsea versus Kiana James. Let's see how this one goes. It kicks off with Kiana beating down on Chelsea, but Chelsea is very quick and agile and gets her own back on Kiana. This one was very short. I think it was less than 5 minutes long for sure. Finished off with Chelsea hitting the unpretty her on Kiana and getting the win. So we've got Chelsea in the ladder match with Tiffy, which is very exciting. Now, there's rumours online that AJ Lee may be making a return to the ring by somehow getting into the ladder match and winning the interim title. This literally makes me salivate. If that's true, I would love to see it. I really like AJ Lee, especially after just watching the first episode of Unreal. We got to know a little bit more behind the scenes about her and Punk as well. I'd love to see her win the title. I'd love to see her have another title run, which I guess would end up with her and Rhea, which would be totally epic, something we've not seen at all before, and also serve the purpose, which is good for me, of keeping Jade as far away from the title as is humanly possible. We go backstage again to Truth and Priest. Truth thought the match with the War Raiders was tonight, but Priest is in the 4-way for the number 1 contender. Cody comes over and says maybe him and Punk will come next for the tag titles. That's the second week in a row we've heard that, so I'm thinking maybe we are going to get that maybe at some point. He tells Priest after SummerSlam he will be the champion. Priest says everyone's sick of the same people being champ, and that gets a massive cheer from the crowd. So maybe if WWE writers are looking for where the crowd are, perhaps we would like to see the title on someone less top of the card. Not Sami, please, but maybe someone like a Priest or a Finn. You know, maybe a run for them would be nice. Cody says he likes that attitude and wishes him luck. Now, I would like to see Priest with the title run. He's underrated and underused, in my opinion. Now, the contenders in the number 1 contender match tonight, he would be my favourite, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. Cody's in the ring and he asks Oakland what they want to talk about. And he says, let's get right to it. And his opponent, CM Punk, he brings him out, and Punk gets, as always, an absolutely massive pop. Cody's got 2 mics in his hand, ready to hand one to Punk, but as he goes to hand it over, he drops it. He said it was an accident. This made Punk mad. They got a bit of beef. Punk deliberately goes to get another mic. He says this is a sorry place to be. He doesn't want to turn his back on his friend or bend down to pick up a mic in case he gets kicked in the teeth. He says that might sound paranoid, but that's where he is. Cody interrupts and said paranoid is a misdiagnosis. Cody says all of this is just an accident. He says he needs to beat him for himself. Punk says he doesn't want the title to come between them, but he's all ears to hear what Cody's other reason is. Cody says that they've done a lot of these moments and people have heard them say, I respect you and even that I love you, but they can be true whilst Cody doesn't like him. He says, here's why. He says in 2011, you cut the famous pipe bomb. He says, I went and did all the things you said, and I dropped a nuke on the industry. And he says that he's aware that while Cody was doing what he was doing, the fans all wanted it to be Punk that was doing it instead. He says he's done apologising for what he's worked for. He says he knows they all want it to be you. He says he went from being the one who knocks to the one who is knocked for. He says the WWE roster is the best, and he gives kudos to Triple H for putting that together. He says he doesn't sweat any of them apart from Punk. And he says for this story to have a proper ending, he has to beat him at SummerSlam. Punk says, you don't like me, or you don't like that I'm champ. He says, I'm CM Punk, and I cast a very large shadow, which you, amongst others, can't get out from under. He says that brothers fight. He says, who did it better? That's for the people to decide and history books to decide. He says Cody showed him there was a way back. He says they aren't chasing each other anymore. Things are going to come to a head at SummerSlam. He says Cody is lying to himself. He says you can't handle the pressure of taking the title of somebody you care about. He says you have to make yourself the victim and make everyone else your enemy. And that makes me your only friend. He says he promised him he wouldn't stab him in the back. He says he will stab him in the front at SummerSlam and he's going to break his heart. Cody says that it sounds like we've said everything we need to say. And he tells Punk he'll whip his ass at SummerSlam. Punk says Cody will be getting an ass whipping and a lesson dressed as a loss. He says no one can touch him, not even Dusty's kid. Cody doesn't like that at all. And he says he wants him to hear the music he's going to hear when he gets beaten at SummerSlam. And then we get Cody's music playing, obviously. And so, by Punk's standards, this wasn't an awesome segment. Nothing really wrong with it. I am looking forward to seeing these two go at it next week, though, hoping for a Punk retention. We then go backstage where Kathy has Flair, and she asks her if she regrets helping Jade by mistake last week to go through and qualify. Flair says she doesn't regret it. She wasn't thinking about title opportunities, as hard as that might be to believe. All she could think about was Bliss and how she's injured. She says she will go through Jax tonight and she will get to SummerSlam, and she says Karma's a bitch. So next out, we've got Nia versus Flair for the ladder match qualification. I can't see this one playing out without interferences, so let's see who it is and who comes out on top. No surprises then, of course, when Jade music hits and she comes out with her B-card army. Nia tells them to mind their business, but the B-card army end up getting taken out by Flair. Jade comes in and takes out Flair, meaning we get a DQ finish again, and Flair is through to the ladder match. And we get Nia screwed again. She's fuming. And I do wonder if we're going to see Nia screw Jade at SummerSlam, and I really hope so. The ladder match is shaping up nicely. One spot left, and it could be for AJ Lee. Our main event tonight is the Fatal 4-Way for the number one contender match against Sami at SummerSlam. We have Trick versus Priest versus Keys versus Balor, and this should be interesting and pretty chaotic, I'm sure. We have Solo out mid-match and he saves Keys, and then that brings out the Usos, which starts a brawl at ringside, and we then get LA Knight out. Match still going on very much in the background. Finishes off totally nuts with all kinds of shenanigans, and we end up with Finn taking the win after hitting the coup de grace, and I'm definitely okay with that. Would love to see Finn beat Sami and become number one contender. All in all, a much more decent show. A good show, in fact. So much better than last week's effort. And some great matches and some good storyline progressions, taking us nicely up to our two go-home shows. We've got Go Home Raw on Monday and the Go Home SmackDown next Friday before our two-night SummerSlam. So all in all, things looking up. That just about does it for this week's show. Thanks for having me in your ears once again. And remember, until next time, be kind.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.